what I'm doing is I'm saying that this system is unsustainable. It's going to collapse. Therefore, I'm going to work with the people in my own area, in my own neighborhood. Okay, for example, I've been offering to help my neighbors carry things onto their vehicles. Like, for example, one guy, he had bad back, 40-something years old, I helped him, 40, 50-something years old, helped him put his refrigerator onto his pickup truck, you know, because, you know, like you said, things have gone well for him in the past, but the last 2 years has been pretty rough. An older guy that I known, he knows a thing or two about gardening. He gardens every single year, so next year I might have him help me out. He's been offering me some tips. Well, I also loaded up his snowblower. It's pretty heavy for him because he has a bad back too. So I loaded it up for him. We took it to the plate shop to get it fixed. I unloaded it. I told him, hey, whenever you need help, I'll be around to help you out with stuff like that. And what we do is we help one another out. He offers me some tomatoes or some stuff from his garden sometimes. So for me, that's the solution, working with people in my own area. I help my neighbor helps me out. We're all in an urban area, and it's something that can be done. There's good people around, and that's going to have to be the solution. Stop looking for Washington to be your solution. I'm not talking about you personally, I'm just talking about people in general. I'm looking for solutions in my own area, and that's part of my prepping. So that's where my mentality is at. Maybe I should be thinking more about how we're going to change things on Wall Street or whatever, but that's one of the things I'm really starting to focus on. My friends and my relationships.
I'm just afraid that, you know, I was hoping that things would happen more quickly than they have. You know, obviously they're slowing things down. And, you know, I'm sort of sick of waiting for the opportunity to, you know, or the actual collapse of these, you know, the corrupt societal measures that they have on us that make it hard for people to have jobs and be successful and whatever, because it's, you know, I just sort of laugh. We have these rich people with jobs that are sort of making fun of the Occupy Wall Street, but aren't these the people that lost the most value in their 401ks and in their, you know, in all of their just their investments? Yet they, you know, because they still have money, you know, they're just like, oh, I have a job, and, you know, get a job, hippie. You know, they just don't get it.
Well, a lot of these people have they have kids, they have they have a lot of debt, and they have a high expense. You know, they have 2 kids in college, they have such and such amount of vehicles, right. They're upside down in their mortgage. They have a lot of liabilities, but they still have that income. What happens when that income decreases significantly or goes away?
Well, I agree, but I think that a lot of these people, you know, they were successful and they have money, and obviously they've got kids and friends, but nobody wants to admit that they've lost money, and nobody wants to admit that it's a broken system, because then they're sort of like admitting that they're failing in the system that they have. So instead they just say, oh, we'll get a job and work hard. I've got money and I'm still surviving at the moment. But what about next year? What about the year after that?
See, a lot of things I notice about Americans, we have a hard time focusing on the big picture.
Right.
We like to focus like what's immediately ahead of us, but the power elite, these guys are focusing long down the road. Everything they do is strategy for 15, 20, 30 years from now. They're thinking long down the road, which is why you see inflation affecting us every single year. Prices of food go up, 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 and our value go down, down, down. It's sort of like the frog in the boiling pot. You know, they put us in the water, right? And they turn up the temperature just a little bit, Oh, well, it's still fine. I'm still kicking around. But after a while, over a period of time, we're pretty much cooked.
Right.
So that's how they're thinking. We're thinking.
What pisses me off about that is, like, you know, me, you know, I've had success and I've had money and, you know, all that stuff. And I actually had a relative that had a $3 million 401k in 2008, and now it's only $1 million. You know, you lose 2/3 of your value on that, and I can't understand how these people, you know, it should be the people with the most money have the most to lose. So why are they not supporting, like, Occupy Wall Street, other than the fact that
these are really middle class people? They don't really have the most money. You know, it's how can I put this politely? Ooh, I really don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but
no, you know, everyone always likes to portray themselves as being more successful and having more money and more security and this and that. Well, and in reality, you know, they've got credit card bills and they've got a big mortgage, and if anyone loses their job.
Well, I mean, have you heard about the Willie Lynch syndrome? where Willie Lynch talked about how to deal with slaves. You turn the dark-skinned ones against the light-skinned ones, the women against the men, the young against the old. Well, this is a scenario where you give some of the slaves, the house Negroes, a little crumbs, and all of a sudden they think they're somebody that they're not. You don't have to be black or whatever to be a house Negro, but.
No, I look on Facebook on these people that I know that they probably make whatever $100,000 a year, $200,000, $300,000 a year, and they're like they'll be like, I see these Occupy Wall Street people outside my building, and I just want to punch them or something like that. And it's just like, well, you have the most to lose when shit really hits. Man.
Exactly, but they're cowards. It's easier for me to say, oh, I'm going to punch one of those Occupy Wall Street people. Those people make me sick than to actually deal with the real threat in the country. As a cowardly thing to do, they'll talk all tough when it comes to some protester.
It's ego driven. They have ego because they have the money and they feel like they're insulated from any problems and whatnot. And it just seems like it's very widespread among people that still have carrying jobs and still, whatever. I mean, if they're making $100,000 a year, $200,000, $300,000 a year at this point, and they just don't see it because they don't want to, realize that they're the ones that have the most at risk. Whereas people who are unemployed, if shit hits the fan, they're not going to lose anything. What are they going to lose?
A lot of them aren't even on benefits. Like I said, last year, 75% of the people unemployed received checks. Now it's only 48%. So when the government says 9% of the people in this country are unemployed, understand that most people who are unemployed don't even receive checks. And we're not even talking about the people who are underemployed, people who are working part-time jobs who need to work full-time jobs to support their kids. We're not talking about all these people who never even received the checks to begin with because they were working independently. When you look at poverty levels, since the year 2000, we've seen a 33% increase in the amount of people living in neighborhoods where at least 40% of the population was living at poverty. Okay, that's something huge. And this is something that's going to affect more people. So this middle class is going to continue to shrink. And sooner or later, they won't be able to ignore it. It's going to be a reality that they're going to have to face. Okay? But, hey, man, I wish I could talk with you more, but we got some other people coming in, man. But thank you for calling.
Take it easy.
All right, man. Take care. All right, guys. Call in anytime. Oh, we got another caller right here. Hey, welcome to the Dimcat Show.
Hey, Dimcat.
Hey, what's going on? We're on BlogTV. What's on your mind?
Well, directed towards black consciousness.
Okay.
And, I noticed that with this whole Occupy Wall Street nonsense, is that there's some black people who are going to these demonstrations, and they shouldn't be.
Why is that?
Well, because personally, I feel that black people, we've been getting the shit in the stick in this country from the beginning. Okay, we've already had high unemployment before.
Yeah, historically, we've had twice as high unemployment as whites. Go ahead.
Exactly. So we've already been getting screwed by the government for since the beginning. I can't even say for years, since the beginning, the origin. Okay? So all I want to say is that any black people out there, take care of yourself. I like what you're doing, Dimcat. You're trying to get people to prepare and everything like that. But please, people, do not go down to this Occupy Wall Street. This is a bunch of white people who can't get jobs and they're upset. Okay? This is all it's about. This isn't about us.
It's not just white people who are upset that they can't get jobs. For example, I saw Immortal Technique down there. It's not just that. There's definitely some black people down there, and it's not just a leftist movement. There are some people down there who are genuinely angry about what's happening with the central bank in this country.
Oh, of course they're angry.
Yeah.
And I believe their anger is real. But all I am saying is that, where were they when black people weren't getting the jobs? So all of a sudden they're graduating from colleges and they're not getting jobs and they're occupying Wall Street? Bullshit. Okay? Black people, do not get caught up in this nonsense. All right?
white people like doing stuff like this when they, when they're getting the shit into the stick. Oh, we're all in this together. Like 9/11. 9/11 happens, right? All of a sudden, oh, it's America. We're a melting pot. We're all in this together. Yeah. Big bullshit.
All right, man. I hear you.
All right, then, Cat. I'll let you go, man.
All right. Well, I mean, human beings always sort of react like that. Americans, like, we don't really care about any problem, really, unless it's really affecting us individually. I mean, I hate to say it, but, I mean, no matter what color you are, that seems to be what Americans do. Hey, welcome to the Dimcat Show.
Dimcat, what's up, bro? It's the New York Critic.
Hey, man, what's up? I'm doing a YouTube video. I should have been telling people that, but, oh well. We're also on BlogTV, so hey, guys.
Now, I wanted to comment real quick on that guy's phone call.
I knew you would call in. Go ahead.
I want to say, first and foremost, my fiance is black. I have a biracial son. I've made videos of him before. People have seen them. So I'm not racist. But I would like to add that I think his attitude is part of the problem of the whole fact of it's like divide and conquer. He's making it easy for the government, the system, and the elite to actually control us because his ignorance is basically keeping us against each other. Like he basically is turning it into a black and white issue when it's really we're all people. And we're all suffering together. We're all in the same boat. We're all sinking. So I think he's failing to realize that it's not really a black and white issue. It's now turning into a class war, and it's all designed that way. They're using, political views, race, and religion to keep us divided. And as long as we keep, constantly butting heads and stop, turning and looking towards the real problem, we're always going to be assed out, taking the shit into the stick, like he's saying. We're always going to be that way. It's not a race issue. And I think he needs to get beyond that and past that whole point. Because nothing's ever going to change if he doesn't stop and realize that he's being manipulated by acting that way.
Well, I definitely understand that a lot of Americans don't really care about a problem until it affects them directly. So I definitely understand that. However, we're still faced with the problem. I don't care that it took you a long time to figure out that this problem affects you. It's still our problem.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. But I think he needs to kind of realize that it's not really a race thing. I mean, it sounds like he's mad about how black people have been getting shit on since day one, which I agree. I mean, like I know.
Yeah, definitely. We can talk about slavery. We can talk about all those other things, but we should also focus on the fact that the power elite are trying to turn us all into slaves right now. A lot of us are already in a situation where we're in debt and we're pretty much indentured servants. I'm trying to say this politely, but we have to face this immediate threat as a group because this threat is affecting all of us as a group. It's not just, this group and that group. So I definitely agree with that part.
Right, and I think that was my whole beef with it. Like he's like, don't go down there. Black people shouldn't be supporting the movement. To be honest with you, I think more black people do need to be down at these protests, whether they're been hijacked or not. That's all irrelevant. I'm talking about the Occupy Albany protest, which I've been to in my city. I only seen a handful of black people. I've been seeing more and more black people come out, but I like to see more black people show up because everybody has the right to be there, and I don't think a lot of the black people that are in the hood aren't actually realizing what's going on. Because I'm friends with a lot of people that live in the hood, and they don't even pay attention to this shit. They have their own problems going on in their own life, so they're not paying attention to Occupy Wall Street. And if a lot of them knew what was going on, they would be there. But they're not actually educated enough to actually see what's going on because they have their own issues going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely know what you mean, for sure. And I can tell you stories about what's going on here in Flint, but we don't have that much time. But yeah, I appreciate you calling in. I mean, essentially, I don't understand why more black people shouldn't participate. Anyway, bottom line, no matter how we got into this ship, it's still called the Titanic.
Exactly, that's the truth. That's what I keep saying. We're all in this boat together. We are sinking. Like that's what people need to realize that. Like it's not about race. It's not about any of that shit. Like throw the ignorance out the window and actually realize that we're all human. We all bleed red. Like we're assed out together, bro. So I think people need to realize that and put their thick-headed